Okay, so next thing which we shall look at in our discussion is file handling. File handling meaning that how we can read data from a file, right? Why do we need to read data from file? A lot of information is stored in a lot of files, right? So we tend to store a lot of information in files. The most basic form of file is text files, right? So let's try to perform some operations to read from a file and write back to a file. Okay, so let me go to my files folder here. Okay, so let's say let me see which file I have. So let's say I have this py_digit.txt file. Okay, so let me first of all py_digit, let me open this file here. This is the file I have. Now this file contains a lot of data. Okay, so now what I need to do is I want to read this data and store it in my maybe memory and do whatever processing I want to do, right? So how do we work on files in Python? So let me create a new Python here, Python file, read file, I'll call it 11. Okay, now in Python it is very simple to read a file. Now I can say with open. If I type open, it has number of arguments. One of the argument is file, right? Other are mode and all that. We shall look at it in some time. So as f and colon. Now this is the file I want to read, right? So py_digit.txt. So I will give this py_digit.txt as f. Okay, now since we are making use of PyCharm, if we say f dot read, right, it will auto complete various methods that are available. You can hit enter. Okay, and whatever value it gives you, let's call it data equal to, right? And then let's go ahead and print that data. Print of data, data. Now what will happen as a result of this particular line execution, which will do few things. So let me explain that in details to you. So if you will look at this write up, the keyword with, which is this with we are making use of, keyword with, this is the keyword. Can you see this having changed color? So this is a keyword in Python. Okay, so keyword with closes the file once access to it is no longer needed. What it means is that when I say with open this, a file is open to be read, right? And then with this line number 2 here, you read the content, and then after this, let's say your reading is done, you have to close it also, right? There is a concept of reading data from a file and writing data to files. Now when you are reading data from the file, you have to open the file, read the content, and it is your responsibility to close it as well. Otherwise the data in the file might get corrupted, or things can happen which is not something which you are expecting, right? So coming back here, the keyword with closes the file once access to it is no longer needed. Notice how we call open in this program but not the close. So as you will see, we have just called open, right? And there is nowhere I am saying close, right? So you could open and close the file by calling open and close, but if a bug in your program prevents the close statement from being executed, meaning that suppose you are performing some statements here. So let's say there is a statement 1, statement1 here, and then there is a statement statement 2, right? And let's say at statement 2 you are performing divide by 0. Okay, if there is an error there, then the rest of the code after that will not execute, because statement number 2, which is line number 5, has caused some problem. And let's say here you had said that f dot close, right? But for some reason this does not execute. Why? Because line number 5 there was a problem and 6 never executed. So what will happen, the file will stay as open and it might corrupt the data there. Yes. So coming back here, you could open and close the file by calling open and close, but if a bug in your program prevents the close statement from being executed, the file may never close, right? This seems trivial, but improperly closed files can cause data to be lost or corrupted. And if you call close too early in your program, you will find yourself trying to work with a closed file, right? So instead of you having to worry about when you should or you should not close the file, you leave it for Python to decide it for you. Okay, a file you can't access, which leads to more error. It's not always easy to know exactly when you should close a file, but with the structure shown here, as we have seen here in the program, using the keyword with, Python will figure that out for you. All you have to do is open the file and work with it as desired, trusting the Python will close it automatically when the time is right. Fine. So if I have read the data from this file, I'll delete this. I don't need all this. So I'm just reading the content of this file pi_digit, and let's try to run this program. If I run this, no such file. Okay, what is to pi_, it is digits as here. Okay, so if I right click and run this file again, so it will display me the content of the entire file. So this single statement here, which is line number 2, it reads the entire content of a file, and after that you are displaying the data as it is.
So this read method by default by /n is included in the
yes
line numbers?
Yeah, so whenever, so see what happened, it read the data as is,
Okay.
and since it is going to next line means there is a /n after each line. That is why it has gone to new line. So it reads the /n as well and displays the content one after the other. Okay, so what we can do is next program we will try to read line by line. This is one whole in one single shot we read it. We'll try to read it line by line as well. Okay, so let's try out this program. You can create any dummy file and try to write a read operation and try to read from that file. Yes, so this is a inbuilt. So this is a read is an inbuilt method.
Right, but data.
No, data is a variable I have defined. You can see make v also here, right? This could be anything.
Okay.
If you want to see type, so let's say type it, right? So if I execute this, so the entire data which is read from a string is read as a string. Even if it has integers, it will be read as string, and you have to convert it into integer to use it for integer operations, right? Please try it out. A few other ways. Okay, now we'll try a few other ways of how we can read content from a file instead of reading it in one single line as a variable v. So what we can do is uh, now what if, so in this case you will see this file, text file is in this same directory as com_c2t files, right? So if it is let's say in other directory, I might as well want to give the absolute path, right? So let's say if I go to this directory here, this is my directory, so I will copy and paste this here. I can even as well give the entire path of the file. Okay, so if it is in a different folder location, then I might as well want to give this entire path. Second, let me copy this. Okay, actually it is taking anchor as a /ns. Okay, let me replace this with the whole of So I will take this and I will put a forward slash here. Just 1 minute. So search, find in file, replace this. So let me replace this.
The slash it is escaping.
Yeah, actually it is treating forward slash, sorry, backslash as an new line. Yeah, escape.
Right.
So let me put it like this. Single quote. Right. So you will see that we are able to run that program, right? So can you create a file in any directory of your choice and try to use forward slash?
Yeah.
Done. Okay, so let's try a few more tricks in this particular file. Maybe I'll create a file with this name where I'll use for loop to read the contents of the file. Okay, so I will go ahead and delete whatever is there. So this is something I already had. Okay, with open I'm giving file name, so reading file.txt. So what is inside that? It is hello, how are you sample file, right? So now so far I said f.read, right? And then I used to display the value of what was written by f.read. No, now I'll say for val in f, for example. Okay, and then I'll say print of val. Okay, so what it will do is it will fetch the content of this particular file line by line and it will display it for us, right? So let's run this file. So you will see that it is coming hello, how are you, and sample. There is an extra space here. Why is there extra space? Because in this file here there is a slash n means go to new line, plus also by default print appends a additional space, or sorry, additional slash n whenever you use print method. Okay, so if you want to remove this, you can use rstrip. So if you will say here, I'll read that again, and dot rstrip, what it will do is it will remove that spaces and display them without the space here. So this is the second output which you are seeing.
From the right side, it's moved.
Yes. So basically, what is happening is that at the end, whatever space is there, it is getting removed, and then it is getting displayed for you, right? While we are looking at this particular what you say display of the content while reading from a file, maybe one another thing we can discuss here is about print statement. So whenever you are saying print, for example, when you say print, for example, HELLO, now if you want to see that what are the arguments which go in this particular method, you can say control P. So it shows that it has this value and then it has a separator, okay, and it has an end, what you end it with. So for example, I say okay, let me not explain in this file, but let's go here. Okay, so let's say I have print uh, a hello. Let me comment all of this. Okay, yeah, it is here. So let me comment all of this. Okay, when I said print and I say control P, it shows me all the method that all the arguments that goes in that particular method, right? So one of them is a separator, if you will see, right? SCP. By default, there is no separator specified. So if I display it like this, if I display it like this, then what it will do is it will right click and run as, it will come ABC here, right? Because there was no separator, but here I specified a separator. So if I am trying to display more than one value in a single print statement, I have an option of even putting a separator, right? So this is how these two are different. Now whenever you display a value with print, what happens by default, by default it always ends with a new line, right? So what I have done is, let's say I displayed print here and then I said end with a empty space, right? So what will happen, it will come hello, and in the same line I'll get world, right? So first of all, let's say I don't have this separator, so it will be hello and the world will come in next line, right? So if I try to run this program, it will be hello and world in the two different line. Why? Because by default print appends slash n, right? Now if I say separator equal to, if I say separator equals to empty string here, then it will say hello, in the same line it will display world also for me, right? So let's run this program and see hello world coming in the same line. Because of this reason here, when you were displaying the value without when you were saying print of well, what happened when the line was read, so which file was this reading this, so it reads a line. So by default within this file there is a slash n, plus print also appended a slash n, right? So when we run this program, we were seeing two spaces in between. One was this slash n, and this slash n means new line character, and therefore there were two spaces. So our strips remove that space for us. That's why I have tried to explain. If you want to change the end, whatever is it, and the whatever is at the end of the print statement, so in this case you can change it to single quote as well, right? Okay, now next thing which we shall look at is coming back to the original program. For example, when we were reading from a particular file, so let's say reading first program, this one. Now as soon as this particular piece of code or block is over for me, the scope of this variable is also over, right? So what if you want to maintain the data which you, or use the data which you have read in this this particular block somewhere else also, so what you can do is you can say with open okay, so let me, for the timing I'll copy this to save time, right? And I'll call it f2, right? Now I'll say f2 dot read lines, right? So this will read the lines for me, and I'll say lines. Actually I should name this one as simple data, okay, and this also I rename it to data so that it is not confusing. Okay, now what I have done is I have got my data read into lines, and let's say for example I'll print lines, so this will display simply the values of that particular data which has been read. Now if I want to, since I have stored those values in lines variable here, right, I could use later on this particular variable after the block is also over, isn't it? Because once I come out of this block, I lose or F2 is automatically getting closed for me. So since I have created a variable here, now my data is within this lines variable. So I can say for line in lines, right? And then I can say print of a line. Is that right? So this way, even when the block is over, I still have the data of that particular file which is been read into memory in a variable called lines, and I can then subsequently try to use it elsewhere. So if I run this program, so let's run this program, right click, run as this. So this is the data which was read. Okay, let me print here, print print. I will put a separator here so that we can understand the difference. One, I'll call this separator 1. Okay, and then okay, let me put it here rather. Okay, and the next one I'll put it here 2, and this is something which I don't need as of now, so I'm removing it. So when I run this program, the data which is read as lines, can you see that it is returned as a list with a /n means a new line character, right? Why? Because if you will go to this pydigits.txt, so pydigits, so there is one line with /n means go to next line, right? Then space and the next line with /n new line, and this is a line here, it is ending, nothing is there, so there is no /n here, right? Now it is returned as a list. When I read the data, it is coming as a list. So if it is a list, then it means where is that file? Okay, so since it is a list, I can iterate that list and read data line by line. Now again, because of one /n and the slash which is put by print, it shows 2 spaces here, right? Yes, no. So this is how we can access the data which was in this block here, even outside the block, by storing it into lines variable and later on accessing it using a for loop for that list data which is returned here, right? So each line is read as a entry of this particular list, and later on you can perform whatever operation you want to do on the particular list. Can you please try it out?
So I use a string.
Okay, now so far we have been trying to perform read operation. There is also write operation we can do. Writing is when you want to write back to file. So I'll create a file with write file 11. Okay, so let me so everything remains same. So far we were doing it like this, right? Now with an open separated by comma, if I specify W as a write mode, this is a way wherein I'm opening the file in the write mode, meaning that I'm going to write to a file, right? So I'll name the file as file 11.txt and opening it in a write mode. W is a write mode. So I'll go here and I'll say f.write. Okay, I'm saying I am writing to file. Okay, and then I'll just simply I mean, just to make sure that my program execution has done successfully, I'll say print of writing done, right? So this actually will go and make entry into the file, wherein this will just show an output to me stating that my program execution is done. So I'll right click and run as. So let's see if there is a file 11 created. Yes, there is a file 11. I'm writing to a file. So can you see this? Yes. Now if I rerun this file again, if I rerun this program again, so let's say I'm writing to file with changes. So every time you run this file, let's see what happens. So first time it was what? It was I'm writing to file with full stop, right? Now if I make change again, I'm writing to file comma with changes, right click, run. So let's go back here and open the file. You will see that the file gets overwritten. So when you open a file in write mode, every time it creates a new file for you and the data in that file gets overwritten for you. Fine. So can you please try this program? No. So even if there is no file, it will get created for you. Yes. If it is there, it will get overwritten, and if it is not there, it will create one for you. Okay, so since I have not specified any location, it will create in the directory where the file is, where my Python file is. I can also specify the directory like C colon or D colon. So let's say if I say D colon slash, and if I try to run this program, right click, run as. Okay, writing done. Let's go in my D drive. So I will go to my D drive and I will see if there is a file created with that name. Yes, there is a file created, right? Which has the content which I have written to that, right? Okay, so next is, let's say if I want to write in more than one line to it, I mean I want to write more data, so I will copy and paste this and run it again. So this is one write, second write, isn't it? So if I run this program, let's see what happens. So it is getting written in the same line. Why? Because I have not specified /n anywhere. So another thing I can do is, in this case the data got written into the same line, right? If I want to change the line, I'll say what, /n, right? So let's try to run this program. Right click, run as, writing done. Now if we'll go back here and see, it is come in the next line, right? So this is how we can either make or write the data in the same line or go to the next line, right? Now what if I already have a file available and I don't want to override it, I want to add to it. Okay, so I have a file which is file11 with 2 rows already. So what I can do in that case is I can open the file in append mode. What does append mode do? It is append mode. So it will append to the existing file, appending, appending. And let me, for the time being, delete this line. Okay, so let's try. So I have a file 11 which has content of 2 lines. Let me go back here and let me try to write to that line. So run as, it says writing done. Let me open that. So you will say that it is appended again, right? Yes. Why in the same second line? Because when I created the first line, I did not append /n at the end, so it will continue to get appended at the end of the content of the file, right? So can you please try this program? Okay, so these are some of the ways which we have seen to read from a file, write to a file and append to a file, right? So we have seen that if you don't specify any mode, by default the file will get opened in read mode, right? And we have tried few tricks of how you can read line or read lines. So as you just were trying, read line will read only one single line, read lines will read all the lines, and read lines will store it in a list array, right? All those things we have tried. Okay, so that's all we have for reading from a file and writing to a file and appending to file.